Hello, everybody, and welcome in live to the 12th. It's the dozen edition of Texas Longhorns here live. I am your host, Matthew Miller. Please give me a follow there on X. Really helps out what we're trying to grow here. I can get the stream out to you on a link. You can share it out. Helps that way. If you can find the link on YouTube, share it out that way. We want as many people in here with the season coming right around the corner. I think we're less than 6. Yeah, we're 55 or 54 days away from Texas kicking off. We're going to start ramping up videos, especially when fall camp starts off, media days, SEC bringing into a new conference. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday, I'm actually going to have a Michigan-Texas preview with my guy TJ over there on the Michigan channel. So, again, give me a follow there on X. Go over to the SEC channel and subscribe over there as well. Really helps out what we're doing. There are going to be certain clips that are going to be brought up from the show and put over there. A couple of them have done fantastic. Arkansas with Josh Neighbors. We had a big interview with him. A clip got put up over there, did fantastic. Obviously, we debated Texas, Oklahoma, who has more talent. That blew up. I got, guys, that video has 2,000 views and 200 comments, all from angry Oklahoma fans. It is quite amusing. Go over there. I literally went through it and laughed. At some point, I may go through it on here just so you can laugh with me. It's hilarious, some of the comments they left about me, but also about the teams in general. Also, we have a UFC show every Monday. Matt and Tim do a fantastic job breaking down the Trojans over there. I wish we played them because we could have a crossover. Those guys do a really good job. But 10 p.m. Eastern time is when they have their show every Monday, 7 West Coast time, where it matters there in Los Angeles. So please go check them out. And then, guys, when you go to Amazon, which Prime Day is coming up, there is a link in the description. Same buying process every time. All you have to do is throw that link in, buy what you want to buy, and Mark gets a piece of that pie. That's all that happens. You don't pay anymore. Doesn't change your buying experience. And guys, I'm going to go crazy on Prime Day. Like I said last time, I'm addicted to caffeine. So I'm going to buy a lot, and I'm going to use Mark's code while doing it to help him out a little bit. So there it is, guys. Let's jump into it. Texas. I've seen it. I've seen it online. Recruiting panic. Sonny dropped a video. Go check that out. It really helps. Again, you're on the Texas channel. It's the video that was posted a couple hours ago. Check that out. I also dropped the Decorian Moore kind of post-mortem video there. And guys, this is July 8th. The ink is not dry until sometime in December. I don't even know the exact date, but December is National Signing Day. Has it been good? I'm not going to boldface lie to you. No, it has not. Everyone thought we were getting Decorian Moore, as did I. I said a couple weeks ago, most people, not just Texas fans, but national recruiting people said they would be more shocked that if he didn't end up at Texas than any other recruit Texas is going after right now. And he doesn't end up at Texas for now. That could change again, December. And by the way, there have been sources saying that. There have been sources saying, hey, this kid, it doesn't really matter what he does now. It matters what he does in December. Now, do I want a kid that's changed his recruitment multiple times? Not really. I would not like that. We're at his third school. That does not bode well. But if we did land him, he's a hell of a player. Hell of a player. Number 1 wide receiver for a reason. Number 3 or 4 prospect, according to either Rivals, 247. He's a top 5 prospect wherever you look. So Oregon did a fantastic job there. In the Decorian Moore video, I broke down why he probably went there. There's multiple reasons, including NIL, his relationship with Rashad Samples. Obviously, his dad in high school's or not his dad. His high school coach is Reginald Samples. So go check out that Decorian Moore video. But overall, I said offensive line, defensive line. That's what we need to hit. We lose Josiah Sharma to Oregon as well. That one is confusing to me. He has quotes, guys. He had literal quotes given to reporters the night before. Everyone thought he was going to Texas. Everyone put in their crystal balls for Texas. He wakes up, and all of a sudden he goes to Oregon. Something, to me, that screams NIL. I'm not going to sound crazy or conspiracy theorist guy over here, but that I don't know what else that could be. How you go to bed one night, you're saying Texas. You've given quotes saying you're going to pick Texas, and then you go to Oregon. I don't think that one's over. Like I said, are we going to flip every guy that's committed somewhere else that we were looking at? Absolutely not. But every cycle For example, at this point last year, we have Aaron Butler, a wide receiver, a 4-star guy, didn't even have an offer from Texas. Xavier Filsaime, and by the way, no one had even heard of him in Texas. We had heard of this guy, Xavier Filsaime, who is now on the team, high 4-star, low 5-star, depending on the service, was committed to Florida, flips to Texas. And he hadn't even gotten an offer from Texas at this point last year. Ty Anthony Smith never visited Texas, never went on one official visit to Texas, guys, not even an unofficial visit, never stepped foot on campus. National Signing Day, he flips from Texas A&M to Texas. Anthony Hill, a couple weeks before National Signing Day, a couple years ago, gigantic flips from Texas A&M to Texas. It's going to happen. We're going to flip one or two guys. I can't tell you because I don't have a crystal ball who those one or two guys are going to be, but we will flip someone. We'll probably end up with one or two guys that we've never even heard of as well that rose up during their senior year and the staff's found and were like, you know what, let's offer this guy. Like I said, I do believe the defensive line right now is the most worrisome. We have basically zero guys there. I think DJ Sanders will end up joining the class. I think right now we are favorites over Michigan, but I thought we were favorites for Ja'Cory Moore over Oregon. So who knows about that? But guys, this is what I want to be positive about. When Steve Sarkisian got here, does anyone know what the super blue chip ratio was? And what I mean by that, it's mid 4-star to high 5-star recruits. We had 6 guys at the University of Texas the day Steve Sarkisian took the job that met that criteria. We had 6. That's it. We currently have 17 of those guys. He has almost tripled that in his time here at Texas. By the way, that ranks 4th in the country. Only Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama have more. We did a video a while ago of blue chips and super blue chips, how many you have to win a national title. Texas fits that criteria to win a national title. So who am I to judge someone who has flipped recruiting in the positive for Texas? Who am I to judge someone who has given us our best season in 15 years? That is why slow your roll a little bit. Wait, let me tell you. I don't even say wait till December. Wait till the first day of November. If this is not a top 10 class by then, go crazy, kids. Go crazy. That's how much confidence I have in this staff. That's how much confidence I think I have in this season. I think we're going to go 10-2, which will get us in the college football playoff again, which will put another stamp on Steve Sarkisian's resume. He's going to always recruit quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. Those recruit themselves under Steve Sarkisian. He's got a long track record with those guys. Right now, defensive line is really the only one I'm super concerned about. If we don't land Michael Fasusi, I will be concerned about the offensive line going forward because that really good class is getting ready to graduate or leave early with DJ Campbell, Cam Williams at right tackle if he has a good year could leave, and then Kelvin Banks is gone after this year. So you could possibly lose 3 out of those 3 guys from that 2022 class was the best, in my opinion, high school offensive class in history, offensive line class in history. So I think that's a year out from worrying. Defensive line, you can be slightly worried now. Don't panic until November. That's my opinion on that. We're going to get into some of the recruits that we could land in the next month that I think will help ease this pain, ease this panic. But first, let's jump into your comments. How many blue chips recruits this cycle? That's a good question. I'm trying to think who would meet that. I think Lance Jackson meets that. Smith Orogbo eventually might meet that. Elijah Barnes, I believe, does meet that now. He got bumped up a lot, Corey. So that's another one at the linebacker position as well, which is another thing I'm kind of worried about. But I will say this, the portal is something. Linebackers, you can find linebackers in the portal. It's really hard to find defensive linemen and offensive linemen in the portal, like really good people at that position. You can get 3. There's 4 to 5 really good linebackers that jump in the portal. Dumas Johnson from Georgia, who was a starter there, is at Kentucky now because of the portal. So there are guys like that. It's really hard to find you're not going to find a Byron Murphy in the portal. So you need to recruit them. Lance Jackson meets that, Corey. Elijah Barnes, I believe, meets that now, I'm pretty sure. And then Smith Orogbo by the end of the year, I think will meet that. So I think we have 3 for sure right now. I don't know if KJ Lacey meets that. He's probably teetering on that as well. But we're also in play with a lot of those guys. Jamie French, we're in play for. I think we do end up landing either Jamie French or Khalil Lockett. I'm not going to say both. I think we will end up one for sure. I've always said out of the 3, Ja'Cory Moore, Khalil Lockett, and Jamie French, we're going to land one of them. I thought 3 was a 10 to 20% shot. I thought 2 out of 3 was like a 40 to 50% shot. So I do think we end up with 1. That will push it up to 4. Let's see. Michael Fasusi would push it up to 5. Like, if you're landing 5 to 6 a cycle, you're doing a very good job, honestly. So, like, George has probably landed about 8 to 10. So that's like super elite status. If you can get to 5 to 7 range, though, that is good. That's better than 95% of the country. So overall, I don't like where Texas is at currently, but in a month that could totally change, because let's jump into who they could get, because 2 of these guys are super blue chips. And let's start out with one of those guys first, and that's Nick Townsend. Absolute freak athlete, could play tight end, could play linebacker, wherever you want to play him. The guy's 6'4" and runs, I think, a 10.8 100-meter yard dash. He's an absolute freak. I think he ends up probably at tight end, which would be interesting, because we're also in play for Michael Terry. I forgot to mention him in that as well, Corey. But that's someone I would definitely look forward to. I think this guy could be either him or Lance Jackson if the day Nick Townsend commits, because I do think he ends up at Texas. By the way, he's already told the staff of wherever he is going that he's going there. Like, they know. He just hasn't announced it, and he would have announced it today, but unfortunately there was a hurricane in Texas, so he couldn't do that. But this guy's a freak. I think he ends up at Texas. I think it's down to Texas, probably A&M, USC. I don't think Bama's in it anymore since Caleb Edwards went there, and I do think he ends up playing tight end, so I don't think they're in it, and there's a super blue chip for you. Kelshawn Johnson, Texas or Texas A&M. I think he ends up at A&M, unfortunately. I think we were late to the party on him because we were going after the top 3 that I've already mentioned, and I think he probably feels a little bit slighted towards that. Maybe Steve Sarkisian's private meeting with him convinced him to go to Texas. If he does end up at Texas, he really likes Texas, guys, because there's been a lot of obstacles for him getting there, and if he commits to us, then I mean, he loves Texas. That's the only way I would commit if I were him to Texas. Jonathan Cunningham does not meet that, but he did announce today, I believe, in 4 or 5 days, he does commit, and it's either going to be Utah, TCU, or Kansas. I think playing time is a big thing. Guys, if he goes to Utah, TCU, or Kansas, and actually it was the 3. I forget. I think it's Utah or TCU now. I think he got rid of Kansas. So Utah and TCU, he's going to play there right away. Whereas Texas, he's going to have to sit a year. In my opinion, he'll be a special teams player, but he'll get defensive snaps immediately at those 2 other schools. So I think it's iffy there. I will say, if you read into graphics, we take up the biggest portion of the graphic. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if there's any studies or data on that, but we take up the biggest portion of the graphic. So maybe that means something. I don't know. This is a guy I'm super high on. You always get 1 to 2 3-stars in every class that a team gets that I think should be higher than they are. And usually if you have a good staff, can develop them. And this is the guy for me, Nathan Tillman, safety. Texas versus Utah seems to be the theme here. He's a 3-star safety, 6'1", long, athletic, can play the ball. I love this guy. I think he could be a NFL player. That's the type of body he has. He just needs to put weight on. And if our cornerback safety coaches work with him, I think he'd be a really good player. He's going to commit sometime in July as well, I believe. So that's 4 guys right there that we're in play for. DJ Sanders we're in play for as well, and I think we do end up getting him as well. Those are really the only 2 I feel super confident on at this point, is DJ Sanders and Nick Townsend. The high 3-star, low 4-star defensive lineman. It's between Texas and Michigan. I don't know when his commitment date is yet, so I think it's sometime in July, so we'll see. So we could end up with 4 to 5 guys this month, guys. And only the staff knows at this point. Apparently, there's a decent amount of silent commits, and they've said, be quiet, we'll be fine, da-da-da-da-da. Well, we'll see, because guess what? DK Moore was a silent commit to Texas. How did that work out for you? Josiah Sherman put his head on his pillow that night and had quotes and said, I'm going to Texas. So I don't know what to believe. This is very interesting. A lot of people believe that with NIL and everything, too, that we could have a crap ton of flips before signing day in December. Who knows at this point? Who really knows? It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a long time to wait, though, for, I think, Texas fans' nerves to subside from all this. So who knows what to think at this point, guys? It's going to be very interesting. Okay, let's get back into your comments. Terry to Texas or Oregon. Yeah, so Oregon was pitching running back, which is weird for his body size, honestly. But, I mean, at this point, I'm not going to doubt Oregon. If he ends up at Oregon, I won't be shocked. That's like the one school, guys. That's the one school. You tell me they're in the realm with Texas for that recruit, and I'm worried. I'm honestly worried. They've been taking whoever they wanted to, honestly, at this point. Coach Samples before Oregon noticeably upgraded the overall talent on Arizona State's roster. Nationally, people don't know or care about ASU, but I tracks. No, that is true. They had I don't know if he was a part of that staff, but I don't know if he recruited Johnny Wilson and all those guys, but if he did, that's a hell of a job. Because I know at one point with Herm Edwards, they were recruiting really good players that Texas and other big schools were interested in. They're going to Arizona State. Now, they never did anything there, and a lot of them transferred, but they were still really good players. And I mean, Jaden Daniels, I don't know if Rashad Samples was part of that. Johnny Wilson. I'm trying to think of other guys. There's even other guys there that were amazing. There's a guy, Elijah Badger, just transferred to Florida, was really good at Arizona State last year. No one talks about him either. So it's going to be interesting. Pettyjohn, too small for Texas, at inside linebacker they left. I don't know if they did that, man. He's a really good player. I think he just wanted to go to Ohio State. Corey, there's a rumor that he was offered $500,000 to go to Texas. So I don't know. Maybe. We definitely need linebackers. Like I said, I'm not as worried about that because if you ask the defensive coach what's like one weakness I would allow on my team, it'd be linebackers, honestly. Like you want speed there mostly and guys that can provide a little bit of thump, but you want defensive line and cornerback and safeties more than linebackers. So I'm not super worried about that. Like I said, I'm more worried about defensive line and offensive line are the two position groups I'm worried about most. Samples, transcendent recruiter, may have been one or two major factors in the Moore story. Absolutely. I think he's a factor. I think NIL's a factor. I think Oregon pitching a legacy. Because no offense, like he can be a great receiver at Texas, but he's never going to be the receiver at Texas. If he goes to Oregon, he's the receiver. The last guy they had drafted was Ahmad Rashad. The last guy they had drafted in the first round was Ahmad Rashad in 1972. So what is that? 28 plus 24, 52 years ago. So, yes, he can be the main guy at Oregon. I think that's a big thing. The kid that just committed to Mizzou, they keep talking, is flippable. Lamont Rogers. Yeah, Texas doesn't seem to be – everything I've read seems like nobody knows about that kid. That kid's just kind of like floating around. No one knows where he's going to end up. Texas honestly doesn't seem too plugged into that recruitment. I could be completely wrong here. Michael Fasusi is definitely number one on the board offensive line-wise, though. So it'll be interesting. Something is wrong on the defensive interior lineman side. We should worry it's going to come back to hurt us. I agree. That is the most concern I have. But again, if you land EJ Sanders and you flip one of those guys, I mean, that gives us two on the board. And then if you were able to get one in the portal and the other guys that we have on the roster, because we still have good players on the roster, pan out, then I'm not as worried. As of this moment, if signing day was today, I would absolutely be worried. Again, Corey, just calm down. We still have time. But I definitely understand the frustration and the worry for sure. Between Coach Samples and Unc Phil Money, we'll get more top-tier Texas high school football stories up to Eugene. Yeah, probably. Oregon fans kept saying his mom talked about relationships were different. Eugene, yeah. I mean, the only thing that what would be so different? Because I think Texas does a good job of establishing relationships. The only difference I can see is you're playing for your coach's son at Oregon as your lead recruiter. That's like the only thing I can think of. Let's see here. Phil handing out stock options now. Those are the different. Yeah, if he's handing out stock options, that's different. If that's true, Connor, that is insane. He can afford it, though. He's worth $80 billion. So, yeah, that would be insane if he's actually doing that. 5 Adam, yes, I agree. Like I said, guys, I think NIL is definitely a part of this. Do I think it's the key part to this? No, I don't. Because Texas offered DeCorian more than anyone they ever had. They offered him $1.3 million. That's been confirmed by multiple sources. So they came up to play with DeCorian Moore. They gave him the option for a lot of money. But I think Oregon probably came with slightly more, and then he liked it up there, so why not? Are you surprised that Texas recruiting is kind of down right now after college football experience last season and moving to the SEC? Yes. So that is the confusing part to all this, guys, because Steve Sarkisian's worst recruiting class is number 6, and that was last year. You're telling me after getting 11 guys to the NFL, the NIL still being really good, and you're probably going to end up at worst a 9-3 team this year in the SEC with the chance to play with Arch Manning if you're on the offensive side of the ball, protect Arch Manning if you're on the offensive side of the ball. Even the clout of Arch Manning will allow you to make more money off the field if you're just on the same team as him. And our recruiting class is ranked 21 right now. Now, the average commit is still 10th in the country, which is still really good. Yeah, I am surprised. I really am. But it is what it is. Like I said, signing day is far away. And it's going to be interesting going in, but it sucks that we keep losing it to Oregon. Texas can match money. They can't match ownership at Nike. That is 100% true. Again, if that is the case, yes, that's something we cannot offer, and that would be game-changing, honestly. Like, no offense, if you didn't take that opportunity, you'd be stupid because Nike's going to grow. Nike's one of those stocks. It's Amazon. It's Nike. It's I'm trying to think of other blue-chip stocks that are just Walmart. Walmart's never going to go out of business. You could invest in Walmart now, put $1,000 in 50 years, they'll be worth 3 to 4 times that because it's Walmart. It's not going to go out of business. Nike's not going to go out of business. Adidas probably isn't going to go out of business. So yeah, you would be dumb not to take that, honestly. Interested in how you're using Silas Bolden, kicker returning only, punt and kick, slot receiver. Slot, 100% Connor. Kick returning, I think that's going to be a no. Punt return, absolutely. I think kick return, you're going to see either you're going to see 2. So it's going to be Matthew Golden and Jaden Blue. Matthew Golden from Houston. Matthew Golden returned 2 kicks and 20-something attempts last year when they gave him the chance for kickoffs. So, yes, he's really good. And Silas Bolden, obviously, fantastic punt returner. So he'll be the punt returner. I think we'll get he'll definitely get reps at the slot receiver. He's going to be a really good player for us. I'm really excited. He is apparently him and Wingo have just been great. So is Matthew Golden the past month. So I'm really excited to see them play this year. I've been following SEC recruiting, and there are a lot of flips on early signing day, depending on season. 100%. I expect Texas to flip minimum 2 guys this year. I also expect us to offer 2 to 3 guys that we haven't heard of, just like an Aaron Butler we offered at the end of last season. So I'm not that concerned, guys. I'm really not. Has it been hard through this period? Absolutely hasn't. It kind of sucks because it's a ton of guys in a row, and I guarantee you, like I said, there's a couple guys in here that we're going to get commitments in a row too. We'll probably get 2 to 3 good commitments in a row to turn the tide. But right now, that's not happening. Right now, we're getting beat out, and we're at finishing second. We're the bridesmaid right now, and it sucks. Hail Blue, Les Austin. Hey, buddy. Wednesday, I'm debating with TJ. Preseason preview, fall preseason preview. Then we're going to do a post-fall preseason preview. And then game day, we're going to break it down even further. So this is like the appetizer for you on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be here on the Texas channel and on the Michigan channel. It's going to be a lot of fun. No, we cannot do that. First off, it's the biggest brand in college football for a reason. There are literal kids who go to certain schools because they are Nike. You can't do that. So it sucks, but you can't do that. Yeah, I'll be watching Cybo. His brother was in the league for a minute. Victor Bolden, also a beef. Yeah, it's funny, Connor. I watched Cal versus Oregon State, and there was another game too, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then I watched him even more. I was super impressed by him. And then he jumped in the portal. I was like, yeah, Texas needs to be all over it. And they ended up with him, which was I was surprised because we already got Bond and Golden. I was like, man, is he really going to want to come here? And he came here, and I think he's going to be fantastic. He fits Steve Sarkisian's scheme perfectly. It's going to be a really fun year with those 3 guys. And then Ryan Wingo, Jonte Cook, DeAndre Moore as well. Amari Nyblack, who I think is going to have a really good year. I think Gunnar Helm is also going to have a good year at the tight end position. It's going to be a really fun year. LOL, Corey, not even my bees would consider that. It's hard to look at what's left the state for other programs. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Corey, but so let's jump into this, guys. I ranked tight end rooms, and this was super hard to do. This is just SEC tight end rooms. If you have any complaints, leave them, but at least give me a justification of why you have them. Guys, for that Texas and Oklahoma video where I said Texas had more talent, and I gave reasons why and even broke down the rooms a little bit. All I heard in the comment section was Jackson Arnold is better than Quinn Ewers is 1. 2, you're stupid. 3, the blue chip ratio favors Oklahoma. It does by 1% until you account for transfers, which I think you should, because guess what? Transfers play, especially Isaiah Ball, Amari Niblack, Matthew Golden, Silas Bold. Those guys are big parts of this team. Dominic Williams is going to be a big part for Oklahoma, so you 100% should account for them. And when you do, Texas is a more talented team. Now, I say that because this is super hard. There's basically no big returning guys here. There are some good returning tight ends, but there's no Brock Bowers, even though I do have Georgia still ranked number 1 in the tight end room rankings. And again, I've done this for quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. This tight end will do offensive line at some point, and we'll get through them all before the start of the season. Oscar Delp comes back, 24 receptions, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns. This guy, you guys will know. And by the way, Oscar Delp is a freak. He's next up in line. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I think he could have 80% of what Brock Bowers had last year, or the year before at Georgia. He was hurt last year, and that's when Oscar Delp got a shot, and he was very good. Benjamin Urasek came from Stanford. Texas was interested. They chose Amari Niblack instead. This guy's a better blocker than Amari Niblack, not as good of a pass catcher. In 4 years, he has 1,342 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then this guy has an awesome name, but basically no stats. 2 receptions, 9 yards, and 1 touchdowns for Lawson Lucky. I went 3 deep here. There's some teams with like 5 or 6 guys that could compete for the 3rd spot. So I did my best on narrowing it down to 3 for each room. Number 1 is Georgia, though. I think they're going to have another good year. I think Oscar Delp is a NFL tight end, and that's why I have him ranked 1. Once I get to 4 guys, I'll jump into your comments, but we're going to take this at least 4 at a time before I jump into comments. Number 2 is LSU. It gets hard, guys. I think, to me, UGA is clearly number 1. Then I think from like 2 to, 8, 7, you can debate, and then there's a fall-off after that. But number 2 for me is LSU. I think Mason Taylor's really damn good. 74 receptions, 762 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And this is where you can get angry at me because it does fall off like in the room. I think Mark Markaway. I think it's Mac. 3 receptions, 16 yards, 1 touchdown. Not that much there at the backup tight end. Honestly, it's this guy. I'm high on this guy. He's a really high 4-star recruit. He's a freshman, Trey'Dez Green. I think he ends up being the number 2 tight end at the end of the year, and I think he plays in with Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor, again, fantastic. You could argue he's probably the best tight end in the SEC. Number 3, and this was hard again, Arkansas. Luke Haas, 16 receptions, 253 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 games. He got hurt. He broke his collarbone last year. He was on pace to be the offensive rookie of the year, or freshman of the year in the SEC. I really like him. If he stays healthy, could be the number 1 tight end in all of the SEC, could be the number 2, 3 tight end in the country. Really good player. Then they bring in a transfer from North Texas with 2 years. He has 37 receptions, 484 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And for Key Gums, he's a big guy, man. He's really big. He's a decent player as well. We'll see how it translates from North Texas to the SEC, but I do like him. And then redshirt freshman who played pretty well in Luke Haas's absence last year. 11 receptions, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Tyrus Washington. Yeah, two of his touchdowns, or his only 2 touchdowns, came in the Ole Miss game. So I have them at number 3. And then Texas fans are wondering where I would have Texas. This is where we break in my Longhorns. They're number 4. The reason they are not higher, I like Amari Niblack, but it is a different scheme for him from a Tom Rees scheme to a Steve Sarkisian scheme. Do I think he fits better? Yes, I do. Gunnar Helm, I think, ends up being the starter, though. I like Gunnar Helm, but he's not proven. Neither of these guys are super proven. All of the rest of the guys I've named for you are proven with semi-unproven backup. So this is why I went 2 semi-unproven guys here versus 3 proven. That's why I went with these guys in 4th. Gunnar Helm, 14 receptions, 192 yards, and 2 touchdowns last year. He played a lot better than I thought he would. I called him out before the year and said I didn't think he was an NFL draft pick. And if he was, he's 6th or 7th round. I honestly think he could probably be a 3rd or 4th round NFL draft pick. I really like him. He's a good blocker. He's got good hands. He's more of a Jason Witten type. He's not going to stretch the field. That's what this guy is for. Amari Niblack, 20 receptions, 327 yards, and 4 touchdowns at Bama. And then 4-star freshman Jordan Washington, really like him. Basically, he was a basketball guy that finally is just full-on football, so I expect him to get a lot better in a very short amount of time. I have Texas at number 4, and let's jump into your comments. Will Johnson shut down Isaiah Bond in the Rose Bowl? Yeah, he did, but he also had Jalen Milroe at quarterback. Quinn Ewers is much better. I said it's hard to see Texas choose other programs, especially out-of-state schools. Texas kids. Yeah, that does suck. I'm not going to lie to you. It does. It hurts my heart to see that, but it is what it is. I can't dictate, and you're never going to be able to keep 10 out of 10. Like your top 10 prospects in the state of Texas, you're not going to keep all 10. I think at best you could probably keep 5. That's on like a great year. I think on an average year, you need to keep 30 to 40%, honestly. How do you think Texas is going to be in the SEC? A prominent name, or like Florida, Ole Miss, good year, the next year mediocre? I think Texas this year will be 10-2. After that, I have no idea with the transfer portal and everything. It's kind of more of a year-to-year thing now with the transfer portal, but it'll be very interesting. I think we're in that upper echelon, honestly. I think it's Georgia, Alabama, us. I think Oklahoma at some point will probably get up there, but those are the top 3 right now, in my opinion. Caleb Odom, freshman Bama tight end. He is at wide receiver 5, Adam. He was converted to wide receiver. That is why he's not in my rank. He will not be in my rankings for this. Helm looking really good right now ahead of Black. Amari Niblack, yeah, he is ahead of him. And yeah, this that is 100% true. He would have been a good tight end, but again, he is converted to wide receiver. That's at least what I read on basically every Bama thing when I was doing wide receiver. I put him in the wide receiver rankings. If you want to go watch that video, it's on the SEC channel. Now let's jump back into this. Number 5, I have South Carolina. And I'm honestly shocked I have them here, guys, because when I jumped in, I was like, their wide receivers are terrible. They have a converted quarterback, Luke Doty, playing wide receiver. Well, guess what? This guy's pretty damn good. Joshua Simon is a grown man. He's in his 6th year at South Carolina. He has over 1,400 receiving yards in his 5 years, 4 at Western Kentucky, and he kills everyone else in touchdown production. Even if you go by a game-to-game basis, he kills them. He has 17 touchdowns in his career. He is a good player, and it probably is going to benefit him a lot, seeing as he's 24 years old going up against a bunch of younger guys, especially in the SEC, because a lot of good players, especially linebackers and safeties in the SEC, go to the NFL after 3 years. So he's in his 6th year going up against freshmen, sophomore, some juniors, not many seniors. Yes, I think they deserve to be this high on the list. And then they bring in another guy that's good. He just did it at a smaller school in Ball State, but 46 receptions, 498 yards, and 5 touchdowns for Brady Hunt. And then that's it, guys. If one of them gets hurt, they're in trouble, and that's why they're not higher on the list, honestly. Nick Exkins, or Exness. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Doesn't matter. He's not going to get much playing time. He's a special teams player. He's literally never had a catch in his life at South Carolina. So 2, I think, good tight ends, and then after that it falls off. That's why I have him at 5. If they had another guy there who actually had any production, I probably would have bumped them up a little higher, but they are number 5. Number 6, Ole Miss. And the reason why I have them at 6 and not ahead of South Carolina is Joshua Simon. If Joshua Simon was on this team and you flip this guy, Caden Prierskorn, I believe is how you pronounce his name, then I would probably have him flipped. But he had 30 receptions, 449 yards, and 4 touchdowns. They also brought in, Virginia Tech transfer Daquan Wright. 28 receptions, 366 yards, but no touchdowns. We'll see if he can up that at all, if he can get any in the Ole Miss offense. And then they have a 3-star freshman in Dylan Hipp. I like the 1-2 punch there. Again, it kind of falls off after that, but I like the 1-2 punch. And we will get to number 7. Number 7 is going to be Texas A&M. Listen, this could be a lot higher because I like Donovan Green, but he was hurt all of last year, so you only have his freshman season to go off of, and he was a really highly touted kid coming out of high school, and he ended up as a freshman with 22 receptions, 233 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They also bring in a transfer out of Fresno State and Trey Watson, 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, 38 receptions. Pretty good numbers there, but again at Fresno State. And then this guy, 4-year player at Purdue, 52 receptions, 465 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Garrett Miller. So the reason I don't have them higher is Donovan Green missed a whole year. I don't know how he's going to recover from his injury. If he recovers well, this can definitely be bumped up. If Trey Watson plays just like he did at Fresno State, they can be bumped up. Garrett Miller, I expect to produce. I mean, Purdue's not in a bad conference, especially for tight end. So I expect him to put up decent numbers. But honestly, I dropped them this low because I don't know what to expect from Donovan Green coming off a serious injury. So that's why I have them at 7. Number 8 is Oklahoma. They bring in Bauer Sharp, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, 29 receptions from Southeast Louisiana. Guys, it kind of what I just said for Trey Watson at A&M. This guy's coming over from Fresno State. This guy's coming over from Southeast Louisiana. I have no opinions on what he's going to do at Oklahoma. None. You could tell me he was great. You can tell me he was terrible. You could tell me a bunch of stuff, guys. I have no idea how he's going to do at Oklahoma. Next up for them, we have Jake Roberts, who I do like. He played at Baylor and North Texas. He is linked up back with his offensive coordinator, Seth Luttrell, who is the offense coordinator at Oklahoma now. He was the offense coordinator at North Texas. 66 receptions, 772 yards, and 4 touchdowns at North Texas and Baylor. We'll see how he does at Oklahoma. And then 4-star tight end Devon Mitchell. If Bauer Sharp had come from anywhere that isn't a Southeast school, a Northwest school, yada, 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 I would have bumped him up higher. But the only guy I know about is Jake Roberts. So to me, you're a one-man band until Bauer Sharp proves otherwise. And number 9, I was shocked when I saw this. Number 9 is Alabama. They have, not much production here. C.J. Dupree, 22 receptions, 30 receptions at Maryland, 314 yards and 3 touchdowns. But last year at Alabama, he only had 11 receptions. So I don't know what to expect from him. Kalen DeBoer does utilize the tight end position, so I expect whoever the tight end to be, the number 1 tight end, to play well. Like Five Adam mentioned Caleb Odom, but he's no longer a tight end there. He will be wide receiver. Now, if they convert him back to a tight end, I'd bump up this room. But he's listed as a wide receiver right now. Josh Cuevas, 4 receptions, 164 yards at Washington. He was the backup tight end. I'm trying to remember who the Washington tight end was. He was really good, though. He killed Texas in the bowl game. I was really impressed with him. So if they can use this guy like they used him, this could be bumped up. And then Robbie Oots, 8 receptions, 84 yards in 3 years. I expect nothing from that man. So right now I have Bama at 9. A lot, like I said, after Texas, honestly, you could debate 5 through 9 up at this point, and you could debate it. Would not shock me at all where you rank them. This is really hard to do. Number 10 is Auburn. Rivaldo Fairweather, I like. He was at FIU for 3 years. First year at Auburn last year, had 38 receptions, 394 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I expect him to be a good player, especially again this year, especially under and in a Hugh Freeze offense. He utilizes their tight ends, especially in the run game. This guy's more of a pass catcher, though, than pass blocker. They also have Brandon Frazier. This guy's huge. He's 6'7", 4 receptions, 4 years, only 11 receptions in those 4 years, 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is definitely more of a blocker, not a pass catcher. And then Michael Riley, I think, could have a breakout year this year. In his freshman season last year, 2 receptions, 40 yards, and 1 touchdown. So we'll see what he does in his sophomore year. Let's jump back into your comments here before I get to number 11. In my opinion, I feel like Terrence Brooks was the worst corner we had last year. Do you think we improved there? Yes, I do. I don't think he was maybe he was. I don't know. But yes, I do think we improved. I think Javion Cole's a good player. I think Gavin Holmes is going to improve in his second year in the scheme. So yes, I do believe we improved. Western Kentucky football is legit. Western Kentucky football is legit. The Fresno State tight end, the Purdue tight end. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Westover, thank you. That's who it was for Washington last year. Yes, he impressed me a lot. He made a couple hard catches in that game as well. That one to keep the drive going down by his ankles was very important in that game. Cuevas, I don't know. Are you saying Cuevas is ass? I don't know. I don't know if that's what you're trying to say they're LFG or not, but yeah, I don't think he's that good, if that's what you're trying to say. Number 11, I have Florida. Arliss Boardingham last year, 26 receptions, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. Kind of in the same thing as Rivaldo Fairweather, both big guys, okay blockers, more pass catchers. And then these 2 guys were both freshmen last year in Hayden Hanson and Tony Livingston. Hayden Hanson, 12 receptions, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tony Livingston, 1 reception, 4 yards. This is there's talent here. There definitely is. This is one at the end of the year. You could tell me they jumped up to number 5 or 6 because there's a lot of talent. They just have no production. Number 12, let's see where I went here. I went Mississippi State. Sadu Traore from Arkansas State had 50 receptions, 655 yards, and 4 touchdowns in his time there. But he was injured all of last year, so he's yet to play for Mississippi State. But overall, that's pretty good at Arkansas State. And then you bring in the Ball brothers, not Ball twins. And no, I'm not talking Lonzo and LeVar and all those guys. I'm talking Cameron and Justin. Cameron played at Buffalo, 8 receptions, 82 yards over 2 years, so not much. And then Justin Ball, 22 receptions, 204 yards, and 1 touchdown at Vanderbilt 4 years. So if Sadu Traore is not 100% healthy, this could be worse than number 12. And this is it. This is where it drops off, honestly, guys. After 11, there's not much talent. Number 13, sorry. I went with Kentucky. Jordan Dingle comes back again for his 4th year, 3 years there, 34 receptions, 544 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Josh Caddis, 2 years there, 15 receptions, 233 yards, 15.45 yards per catch, so a pretty big play threat, 2 touchdowns. And then Kamari Anderson, only 11 yards receiving for him at Kentucky as a tight end, so not much there. He actually played on defense a little bit, so that tells you about that room. Number 14, this one might be able to jump up higher because I do like this guy, Brett Norfleet, 18 receptions, 197 yards, 3 touchdowns. But I do have them ranked 14th, and this is why. Tyler Stevens from Buffalo. He came in last year, and he has 5 receptions and 49 yards. Jordan Harris, who was a freshman, and he mostly played special teams last year. Not really good for a third-string tight end. And like I said, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, guys. And number 15 is Tennessee. They lose their starting tight end, and they replace him with Holden Stays from Notre Dame, 16 receptions, 187 yards. In 2 years there, and Miles Kitzelman from Bama, only 2 career receptions. Those are your 2 best tight ends. Not looking great. And Ethan Davis was a freshman last year, 2 receptions, 33 yards. This room is just a whole question mark. I don't know who's going to be your number 1. I don't know who's going to produce. You'll probably put up numbers because you're in a Josh Heupel offense, but this is not a good room. And then last but not least is Vanderbilt, and this is pretty funny. Their number 1 tight end, guys, is a former quarterback from Texas A&M and Eli Stowers. He also played at New Mexico State as a quarterback and tight end. He had 35 receptions and 366 yards at New Mexico State. And then they have Cole Spence, who has 0 receptions. They have Cameron Johnson, who has 10 receptions and 99 yards, and that rounds it out. Vanderbilt, like I said, between 11 to 15, it drops off and then drops off again after 15 because this is a bad room if you're relying on a former quarterback to be your tight end. But that wraps up the tight end room rankings. And again, I had Georgia at 1 with Vandy following it out. If you missed that, rewind the video, watch the whole thing over again, or it'll be cut up and be put on the SEC channel. But again, guys, I'm going to have you guys do me a favor here. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. This is Texas Longhorns here live with recruiting updates and tight end rankings. Please go and subscribe to the SEC channel, which I just mentioned. A lot of this will be clipped and put on there. So please do that. We have a lot of content. We're almost getting to 900 subscribers. We want to get to 1,000 before the season. So go over there, hit that like button, subscribe. Also, check out the Amazon link. Prime Day, I believe, is in 8 or 9 days, guys. And it lasts 2 days only. It's once or twice a year. This is the first time this year. So please go over there. The link is in the description. Put it in over at Amazon. Same shopping process. It just gives Mark a little piece of that pie, so please do that. And I appreciate you guys being here. Let's jump back into your comments and questions. Cuevas will be a decent tight end for Alabama. Yeah, I don't think he'll be bad, but overall, the room is just iffy to me at this point. Seaway Vast is a pretty good player. 24 Alabama is going to surprise people. I don't think they're going to be bad. I haven't gotten to my official predictions yet, but Alabama could be anywhere from the 2nd best team in the SEC to the 6th. I think 6th is the worst they could absolutely do, and that would put you at like 8-4. And under a first-year head coach, that isn't bad. But for Alabama standards, I would understand why. Yeah, he played decent at New Mexico State, but again, you're in a Vanderbilt offense that is going to be running a military-style offense, which is triple option. Probably not going to get many opportunities, and he used to be a quarterback. After that, you have two guys that account for 10 receptions and 99 yards. So that is why Vanderbilt is last. He's not bad. Like, if he was anywhere else, fine. But to me, he should be like your third best tight end. Like at Texas, he would be the third best tight end. At Georgia, he'd be the third best tight end. At a lot of these places, he's the third best tight end. He's at Vanderbilt. That's why he's starting. Vanderbilt's probably going to end up being the team in last again in the SEC. So we will see. But again, guys, this has been Texas Longhorns Live 12. I will be here Wednesday for a special edition fall preview, Michigan versus Texas. Then we're going to do two other previews with them down the road, but we're about 2 months out from that game, guys. So please, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time on this channel and the Michigan channel, TJ and I will be breaking down that game for you a little bit, asking each other questions. Come with your comments, questions, concerns. I really appreciate it. Again, hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe down below. Hook 'em, guys.